Most definitely. Do you think that Charles will be able to move on from this and not allow his tenure as king, his reign, to be tainted by this scandal?
Ooh, I mean, there's so much that King Charles has had to dodge over the last few years. Racism allegations, Harry and Meghan lobbing those from the United States.
January 2026. The royal family just survived their most scandalous year in decades. And now a bombshell so devastating just dropped that it could destroy everything. Prince Andrew, the disgraced former prince who lost every title, every privilege, has alleged connections to Meghan Markle that nobody's been allowed to discuss publicly. Reports are surfacing about how Meghan and Andrew supposedly crossed paths in elite social circles years before Harry was even in the picture. Claims about overlapping networks that the palace allegedly tried to bury. And here's what makes this absolutely explosive according to sources. Charles and Catherine are reportedly reacting behind closed doors in ways that suggest they know something the public doesn't. The palace is allegedly in complete meltdown mode. Because if what's being whispered in royal circles is true, if Andrew really did know Meghan before she married Harry through these elite connections, then major questions need answering. And Harry might be the last person to understand how deep these connections allegedly ran. Let me break down what's supposedly happening right now. Andrew lost everything in October 2025. King Charles stripped him of his princely title, evicted him from Royal Lodge, took away every last shred of royal privilege. Andrew went from His Royal Highness Prince Andrew Duke of York to just Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. And when you lose everything, people start noticing what you allegedly knew all along. Sources close to royal circles claim Andrew had knowledge about Meghan Markle that predates Harry by years. Information about how she moved in certain elite circles. Information about connections she made with powerful men in the exact same social networks Andrew frequented. Here's what's driving royal insiders crazy according to reports. Andrew's household leaked Harry and Meghan's relationship to the press back in October 2016. That's documented. Tina Brown confirmed a servant from the House of York tipped off the tabloids. But here's the question nobody can answer. Why would Andrew's people do that? What motivation did they have? Unless Andrew knew something about Meghan already. Unless there was history in those social circles that made him want to expose the relationship early. Unless he was trying to send a message before things went too far. Think about the timeline being discussed. Meghan was allegedly working yacht circuits and elite networking events for years before meeting Harry. Andrew was heavily involved with Jeffrey Epstein and those exact same elite social circles. The overlap, according to those analyzing this, is undeniable. Here's a detail that never made sense to royal observers. When Harry first introduced Meghan to the royal family, she allegedly mistook Prince Andrew for a servant. That's Harry's account. Meghan saw Andrew and thought he worked for the family. Really? Here's the problem. Meghan was already close friends with Princess Eugenie before meeting Harry. That's confirmed. Eugenie is Andrew's daughter. You're telling me Meghan was tight with the daughter, but didn't recognize the father? Royal biographers raised this exact question. How do you know someone's daughter well enough to be close friends but not recognize her father? It makes zero sense according to critics, unless something else is going on. Why would Meghan not recognize Andrew or allegedly pretend not to? Because if she admitted knowing him, people would ask how they met, where they met, what circles they traveled in together. Questions she supposedly didn't want anyone asking. So playing confused allegedly made sense. Acting like Andrew was just some random person, but people inside the palace reportedly noticed. They knew something was off about Meghan's reaction. And Andrew's household, sources say, was not happy about the servant comment. That public moment may be why Andrew's people leaked the relationship shortly after. Revenge dressed as exposure. Let's talk about what's being called Meghan's mystery years. The years before Suits, when she was allegedly working elite social circuits. The years nobody can fully account for according to those investigating her background. There are photographs that circulated online showing women on yachts with Prince Andrew from elite social events. The official story when Meghan's name got connected was that these women were other people, not Meghan. Photos from around 2010 got heavily scrutinized. But here's what's interesting to observers. Those photos and discussions got shut down fast. Major fact-checking sites rushed to address them. The palace never officially commented, but suddenly every outlet was saying it wasn't Meghan. Critics ask, why the panic to shut that down so quickly? If the connections were obviously not there, why not just ignore the speculation? Why activate PR machines to kill theories about overlapping social circles? Because according to those analyzing the situation, even if specific photos weren't Meghan, the implications were concerning. If people started investigating whether Meghan and Andrew crossed paths in elite networking circles, what else might they find? Author Kirby Summers documented Meghan's connections to elite yacht events and luxury social circles. Meghan was photographed on boats with wealthy individuals. Andrew was notorious for his yacht gatherings with Epstein and billionaires. Those circles, investigators note, overlapped significantly. Did Meghan and Andrew meet at one of those events? Did they travel in connected social circles? These are questions the palace allegedly never wanted anyone investigating. Here's where this gets really interesting according to reports. King Charles has been making strange moves regarding Andrew lately. Despite stripping his brother's titles, Charles is reportedly calling Andrew frequently, restoring some staff access, softening the blow. Why? Charles is ruthless when protecting the monarchy. He had no problem destroying Andrew publicly. So why the sudden compassion behind closed doors according to sources? What's Charles worried about regarding information Andrew possesses? Sources claim Charles is desperately trying to manage what Andrew might reveal about certain royal family situations, not just Epstein connections, other information. About Meghan's background specifically, because here's what's being discussed. Charles allegedly compared Meghan to Sarah Ferguson from the moment Harry introduced her. He saw the same pattern. Outsider marrying in. Media darling at first, then drama and scandal. But did Charles know more than just a pattern according to those close to the situation? Did he have information about Meghan's past connections to Andrew's social circles? Princess Catherine's reaction is equally telling according to insiders. Catherine has stayed completely silent on all things Sussex for years, but sources close to Catherine say she's privately concerned about the Andrew situation. Not just because of Epstein, because of what information allegedly exists about overlapping social circles with Meghan. Catherine reportedly believes Harry deserves to know the full story. December 2025 brought another bombshell. New Epstein files got released, and buried in those documents, according to reports, references to Harry and Meghan. Not accusations against them, but proof of how valuable their names were in media coverage. One article connecting the Sussexes to Andrew generated $4 million worth of publicity value. $4 million from one story. But here's what's really interesting according to legal observers. Virginia Giuffer's lawyer said back in 2021 he wanted to depose Meghan in the Andrew case. Not because Meghan was accused of anything, but because the lawyer believed Meghan might have knowledge about Andrew's activities and associations. Think about that. A lawyer representing Epstein's victims thought Meghan Markle potentially knew relevant information about Prince Andrew's social circles. How would Meghan know anything unless she'd been around similar elite circles? Critics ask. The lawyer never got to depose Meghan. The case settled, but that statement exists on record. A legal professional saying he believed Meghan had information worth exploring about Andrew's social world. That's not speculation. That's documented legal strategy from an attorney who thought Meghan possessed relevant knowledge. Here's the brutal reality, according to those analyzing the situation. Even if Andrew and Meghan crossed paths in elite social circles before Harry, even if they knew each other through mutual wealthy connections, the palace can allegedly never openly discuss it. Because discussing it means admitting they didn't fully investigate Meghan's background. It means admitting they failed to map out all her elite social connections. It means admitting the Sussex situation had complications they didn't foresee. The situation for Harry would be devastating. The man left his entire family, burned bridges with William, damaged his relationship with Charles, walked away from royal duties, all while potentially not knowing the full story of his wife's past social connections, according to this narrative. Go back to October 2016, as documented by Tina Brown. Harry and Meghan had been secretly dating for 4 months. They were keeping it quiet. Then suddenly, a servant from Andrew's household leaked the relationship to the Sunday Express. The leak was surprisingly positive, called Meghan Grace Kelly Redux, praised her humanitarian work, made the relationship sound like a fairy tale. Almost like the leak was designed to force the relationship into the open with positive framing. But it came from Andrew's household. Why would Andrew's staff care about Harry's love life? Why would they rush to expose a relationship Harry wanted kept private? Several possibilities exist according to analysts. Either someone in Andrew's circle wanted to control the narrative early, or Andrew's household had information about Meghan from elite social circles, or the leak served some strategic purpose observers don't understand. The timing raises questions. Why expose it then? Why from that source? Why with that specific positive framing? Sources claim Charles and Catherine held private meetings in late December about managing the Andrew situation. Not just about his Epstein scandal, about what information exists regarding overlapping elite social networks. Charles is reportedly considering various strategies for keeping Andrew quiet about royal family private matters. Catherine allegedly wants a different approach. She wants clear boundaries. She believes accommodating Andrew just creates ongoing problems. She wants clean separation with no platform for him to discuss private matters. Because if Andrew speaks openly about elite social circle connections involving Meghan according to this scenario, it doesn't just affect the Sussexes. It affects the entire monarchy's credibility. And here's what stands out to observers. Meghan hasn't commented publicly on Andrew's title stripping. She hasn't said anything about the Epstein files. She's stayed completely silent on anything Andrew-related. That silence is notable. Meghan usually positions herself on important issues. She talks about transparency and truth, but on Andrew, absolute silence. Because according to those analyzing her response, Meghan knows what information exists about elite social circle overlaps. She knows what investigations happened. She knows if Andrew discusses things openly, complicated questions arise. The question being asked isn't whether Meghan and Andrew traveled in connected elite circles before Harry. The question is when the full scope of these social network connections becomes public knowledge. Andrew knows details. The palace investigated thoroughly according to sources, and Meghan's silence about anything Andrew-related speaks volumes. Sometimes what isn't said reveals more than what is.